Operating Officer of the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. I want to thank you very much for spending your evening with us. I hope you have taken advantage of the tables out front and learned some things already, and I can assure you you're going to learn some more things this evening as we proceed. I would like to invite our local elected officials to identify themselves and stand, please. I know I saw a couple, and you're not shy. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. So I want to talk about the reason that we're here, who we are, and why we're here tonight. So NCORE, the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency, is the office that administers the CDBG-DR funds for Matthew and the future funds for Florence. We are a new office that was set up to streamline the programs that had been offered under Rebuilding C and to make the program stronger and better for a stronger and better recovery for North Carolina. We are new, and we are here to talk about new funding. So I want to apologize up front if there was any miscommunication about what this meeting is. This meeting is not to look backward at the CDBG-DR funds. If you have questions about your CDBG-DR award, we have a case management table out front. We will keep our case managers out front the entire time during this presentation. So if you have an individual question, I want to encourage you to take that individual question to our case managers, because what we're here to talk about is the public input process for the mitigation funding. So the $168 million that HUD has given us for mitigation funding is looking ahead. CDBG-DR always looks back, right? It looks backwards to fix the damage that is still there from a previous storm. This mitigation funding, which is new for the country and new for North Carolina, is about looking forward. What can we do to prevent damage in the future? So we're here to talk about what the options are under that funding and to receive your public comments on that funding. We really need your input on this because we want to make sure we get it right, and we want to make sure that we hear the needs of your communities so that we can write those into the action plan, have HUD approve that action plan, and then move forward. Again, if you have questions about your particular award, please see our case managers, but for right now, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Matt Arlen, and then we will have a short presentation and then move into the public comment portion. We have a list of folks who have signed up to speak, so we will call on that list in order. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Everybody hear me okay, I think? My name is Matt Arlen. I'm here on behalf of the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency, like Laura had said earlier. We administer the Rebuild NC program, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, within the Office of the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. Tonight we'll be discussing a new source of funds, which we'll call CDBG MIT, or mitigation, and we're really here to listen to you. So this presentation will be very brief, and then we're going to be listening to your public comment about our plan and the direction we're going right now, and we want to hear from you, and we're excited that you're all here. I want to thank you very much for coming. The federal government, through HUD, has provided us this opportunity, a brand new funding source, unlike what we've had before, and we're going to listen to you about what we're going to be doing with those funds so we can incorporate that into our plan, what we call our action plan. So we have the definition for mitigation. This has been provided to us from HUD, and it's activities that increase resilience to disasters and reduce or eliminate the long-term risk of loss of life, injury, damage to, and loss of property, and suffering and hardship by lessening the impacts of future disasters. So the future disaster part of that is very important. As Laura had said earlier, our other funds are looking backward, trying to recover from the previous disaster. For mitigation funds, we're looking ahead to the next disaster. We're trying to reduce the loss of life, to reduce the risk to your property, and trying to find the best way to do that with your input. So we won't be directly repairing or recovering from storms. We're going to be doing new activities to prevent damage. We're doing this through what we call a Community Development Block Grant. That's provided by the federal government. It's provided directly to states. We can do many different projects and programs with this funding. You may be familiar with some of them, such as house repair, reconstruction, elevation projects. Those are all things that we can do with these Community Development Block Grants. We have two of them. We have CDBG-DR, or Disaster Recovery, and we have CDBG Mitigation, which is brand new, which we're talking about tonight. For mitigation, We received these rules August 30th, 2019. We've been hard at work since then, interpreting the rules from HUD, listening to what HUD has told us is the best use of these funds, putting together early drafts of our own plan. But the funds are limited. We only have $168 million. It's much less than we received for disaster recovery. And we're going to be spending it in the most impacted areas for Hurricanes Matthew and Florence, and we're here tonight because you are one of those areas most impacted by Matthew. And again, we're looking ahead to future disasters. I can't emphasize that enough. There are a couple of requirements for these mitigation funds. We have a small portion of those funds for planning and administration of the grant. We will be doing quite a bit of planning activities. You may have seen some of them outside of the tables. We're required to spend half of the funds in the most impacted areas, which we're in right now. So half of those funds must be spent in areas such as this. Half of those funds must benefit low to moderate income individuals or households, which that's 80% of the area median income. If you're not familiar with that, we can help you understand if you qualify as a LMI or low to moderate income individual or household. We'd be happy to help you with that. The activities must meet what we call a national objective, like benefiting low-income individuals or areas, or addressing an unmet need from a disaster. And finally, we have to have these projects on a list approved by HUD. It's a pretty lengthy list, and you may be familiar with some of them, like elevation, reconstruction, and so on. So these are the kind of pillars of our approach. We're going to be funding multiple planning activities. We're working through that right now. You've seen some ideas out of the tables. We're going to be doing some property buyouts, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Also, we discussed this at the tables outside. Resilient affordable housing development, a major priority for CDBG funds generally. And resilient infrastructure, which is meant for communities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one. And again, we have much more information out of the tables. This is just going to provide a little more information for you. So, the buyout program is a major component of our CDBG mitigation program, and it's a component of our disaster recovery program as well. But the need for buyout and the demand for buyout is a lot higher than the funds we have available. That's why we're going to be using some of these mitigation funds for this activity. We intend to pay the pre-storm fair market value of your property. And then we'll also be providing some incentives so that you can relocate to a safer area, buy a new house in a safer area, and make sure that you have what you need to be safer looking forward. The bought out property will be converted to green space or another community amenity. Affordable housing development. Affordable housing is a need statewide, so we recognize the need here. We're looking to build resilient new housing, and we want it to be affordable to folks who are looking for affordable rents, affordable home ownership. We want it to be located out of the floodplain in a safer area. Not only we're looking to do multifamily rental units like you see in the top left corner of the presentation, but we're looking to do cluster houses in new developments where we can, preserving neighborhoods where we can, and again, keeping them in less hazardous, less risky areas. And we want these with green building and resilient design. They keep your power bill low, keep your bills and utilities low altogether so that it's easy to live there and you can afford it long term. For infrastructure, we are looking long term, not just to rebuild what was damaged by a storm, but to build better, smarter, stronger. We want these systems to stay intact during another disaster, looking ahead to a future disaster. So we're looking to the communities, and that's one of the reasons we're here. What kinds of infrastructure projects are needed? What kinds of things are needed to make communities stronger? And some examples you may have seen on the tables as well. Energy grid upgrades like backup power, retention ponds to prevent street flooding and other neighborhood flooding, and then localized things right at your house for rainwater capture so you're not flooding your neighbor's yard or not flooding your own yard. But there are many, many examples of infrastructure, and we'll like to hear more about that from you. So what we intend to do now, we would like to hear a little bit about what you thought at the tables outside, and from this brief presentation, what your impressions are. We'd like to know what we missed and what's important to you. And what we're going to do shortly is open the public comment portion. We have a list of speakers who signed up for public comment. We're going to organize ourselves up here, so there'll be a minute pause, and then we'll be calling you up in order to present your comment. And we really do look forward to hearing you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And again, just a couple minutes and we'll be calling you back up for public comment. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so now we're on to the public comment portion of this evening. And before we start the public comments, I just want to make a couple of reminders. Comments will be recorded for the official record, and the audio will be made available on the Rebuild NC website. If you have general questions, again, please visit the information table or the case management table. And I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Everyone that has signed up has an opportunity, so we will limit you to 3 minutes. Tracy Colores, my colleague, is your timekeeper, so she will hold up signs at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and stop. And we want to be fair to everyone. We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. So you can also, if you don't feel comfortable speaking tonight, or if you think of something later, please submit your comments by email or mail. We are taking comments continuously, so we want to make sure that we hear you whether or not you want to stand up tonight. I also want to introduce my colleague, CJ Jordan, who will be calling folks up and listening to your comments. Again, we're not able to provide answers to you, but we definitely want to record your comments so that it can inform our action plan. Thank you. Oh, and I did forget to say, there is a lost cell phone at the information table. So if that is your cell phone, we have it for you safely at the information table. Thank you.
Welcome to the public comment period. First speaker up is Ms. Commissioner Linda Joyner. Commissioner Linda Joyner, you're the first speaker up with a public comment.
Thank you so much. And visiting the tables out front, and I am pleased to know that you are trying to do something for preventive measures, because that is very important for us. I guess my first question or comment is in regards to the flood insurance, and I was looking at something else on the table in regard to that. We do know that a lot of our citizens just cannot afford the flood insurance, so we're trying to find out what measures can be taken or what can be done to assist or aid in being able to get affordable flood insurance for our citizens.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker up, Mr. Milton Bullock. Milton Bullock, next speaker up for public comment.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for what you're doing and you're the new kids on the block. We have been to a lot of meetings out here and hearing the same old thing, but I'm so glad to hear that you are willing to do what we call intervention processes, because if we don't do that, there's no need inviting anybody to come into our area, wherever you may be, if it's not safe. And that's the first thing on my list, is to make sure that we can do the intervention program where people can know that they're going to be safe to raise their children and to open their businesses in a dry place instead of the bottom of a river. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Mr. Ed Bridges. Mr. Bridges, please come up for public comment. Mr. Bridges, you can stay right there. I got a mic coming to you.
Yes, I'm Ed Bridges, and what I'm hearing according to the flyers that have been passed out is telling people simply to buy out and then go for buyout, and then you will get some money. You got around $300 million available, $268 million. You could take $1 million out of that proposal from the government and give the number of people that buyout is available. Everybody who wants to buy out can do it. There's no restriction on the buyout. Buyout, give it, if he doesn't buy out, and he needs something done and had insurance, and get back in his home. His home is his castle. And what I'm going to take a little time in looking at this flyer that's been put out, is urging people to go for the vow to get some money. Take $1 million of that $168,000 and give every individual that have applied for help in getting back home, the mayor and some of the commissioners, give them some money, allow. I got a book in my hand here, a book in my hand. I'm going to present it to the town manager here tonight. And it's principal recovery plan after the 99 flood. The principal was completely destroyed. They were back in the year's time. The governor turned loose some of the money, gave everybody at least $10,000 or more so he could get back in his house. Now it takes 3 times that in order to get most of those that is African or that have applied for funds. If you got the money, give it to them. How many? 75 or more? You can take $1 million and divide it among the number of people that have applied to get back home from the mayor on down. You can move back. In mathematics, what would that come to? Maybe we were giving $10,000 more. I don't know about that. Maybe give me $500,000. And what happened? You might have to give him $50,000. That's chicken feed to what he needs. And everybody, those that apply, you'll be back home in less time than 10 months. If you can get back there with $10,000 in the 99 flood, and here's Matthew only covered 2 streets and a half, didn't it? Matthew, then you can't get back home? Give him some money, you got it? Give him some money so he can get back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment.
Evelyn Stokes. Evelyn Stokes is next for public comment.
Good evening. I would like to thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to speak. And what I see the problem is when they built the bypass around Tarboro, Edgecombe County, Princeville, they didn't put any bridges or outlets for the water to leave out when the river rises. It stands there, and as the water rises, it backs up on us. I was born and raised right here in Tarboro, right on the river, over there on St. James Street. Fished all the lakes and ponds from Tarboro to Oak City, Williamston. All of that was blocked off when the bypass was put in. And no bridges, no outlets was put up there for the water to leave out. I stood on my front porch when Matthews came, and all of the tributaries that was bringing that water out had been blocked off by that bypass and backed in on us. What you call Hope Farm now, where they still building houses at, that used to be called low ground. The bypass blocked all of that area off that was carrying that water out, and that's going to continue and make that water back up on us unless they put some culverts, some bridges ever so many miles down that bypass to carry that water right on back to our where it was going, Canita, Oak City, Williamston, and right out to the ocean. That's the problem right there. If you could do that, put some bridges out there and do something about that bypass, you won't have to worry about that water backing in on Tarboro or Princeville either. And thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Lois Watkins. Ms. Lois Watkins. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Carlton Jones. Mr. Carlton Jones.
I'm Carlton Jones. I just have a couple of questions or comment about the process. It's been 3 years now, and we started out, of course, with the intake process for 2 categories of people, but not from my understanding. One was for homeowners, and one was for landlords. Well, I'm assuming that everyone applied at the same time, landlords and homeowners. But evidently there has been some type of misunderstanding because as a landlord, which I am, we applied for funding for repair or buyout funds for rental properties. All the landlords that I've spoken with, they've gotten a letter saying that they are ineligible for primary homeowners. And of course, we did not apply as primary homeowners. We applied as landlords. I just came from the counselors that's out in the lobby now and trying to get a better understanding of it, and there still seems to be some confusion that the small rental program is being developed as we speak now, 3 years later. They don't exactly know how that's going to operate. Therefore, hopefully, that all the information we've already given them will be transferred over until this new program. I specifically asked the question, well, is this program will still have the same options that they gave us in the beginning? And those options was repair, elevation, and also the buyout. One of the gentlemen left and simply said, well, he didn't know the answer. So he came back and asked a state worker, would all the options still be available? And he came back and said, well, no, there is possibly only one option that will be on the table now, and that's to do the repair. One of my concerns is, at the last meeting I went to with the county commissioners, we were updated that FEMA is looking at revamping the flood maps. And they're saying that with the flood maps being revamped, that there's a strong possibility that the levee that protects Princeville will no longer be considered as a protectionary device that protects the citizens of Princeville, and everyone within the town from that point forward will have to have flood insurance if they're carrying a mortgage, if they've gotten FEMA assistance, then they will have to have flood insurance. And from some of the meetings we've had earlier, based on the elevation of the town, the flood insurance is going to be astronomical. I don't know how they expect the people to afford the rates that they've been quoted in the past. So my concern is that we're just simply not getting the information, and the flow of this process has been terrible. Even tonight, I come here tonight looking for a public comment section. Then we get here and you have your comment section out in the lobby. You have an update section over here, but no one came prepared for that because we simply came to a public hearing. And we was going to only give comments at a public hearing. But now we're told out there that if you would have brought your folder, which no one told us to bring, because it's going to be talking about just $168 million that will be released now. So I mean, someone needs to really try to get the people better informed. I mean, it's 3 years later, tomorrow, October the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be 3 years. And we still having these same meetings about information, and your information not being processed, or your information being given to the wrong person, or there's a new department now that's handling your file, or there's a new person handling your file. Can you imagine how frustrating this must be 3 years later? Can you even imagine?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your comment. Next person up for public comment is Ms. Risa Pittman. Ms. Pittman, you're next up for public comment.
Yes, I'm interested in making a comment concerning preventing damage. I'm concerned because for me and a community living on the Cowlick Creek, every time the Tar River overflows, it ends up in our houses. Now, when Floyd occurred, we were told, oh, that's the 100-year event, don't worry about a thing. Okay, well, in 15 years, houses along there have flooded 3 times. Now, my house happens to be one of those houses that have flooded three times from 3 different events. But there are others that live on this creek that have the same issue. And it doesn't have to be a storm. All it needs is for the Tar River to overflow. And that can come from just water flowing down the river based on an event that happened west someplace. So my concern is trying to prevent that from happening again, either rerouting Cowlick, re-engineering Cowlick, so that my neighbors and myself don't have to worry about it ending up in our houses, or buying us out and giving us a way to figure out what organization is doing this buyout. I mean, because what I'm understanding, there's, 5 or 6 different organizations that could be doing this that we don't know anything about. But getting the information to those homeowners so that they can get the right information for a buyout. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Ms. Janet Jenkins. Ms. Janet Jenkins, you're next up for public comment.
Yes, I stay on the cul-de-sac on First Street in Princeville. The county do not want to take responsibility. The state don't want to take responsibility. Princeville do not want to take responsibility. No one wants to take responsibility for that one little section of highway. It is so bad down there. People are tearing up their cars. Nobody wants to drag that one section. Nobody wants to pave it. Nobody wants to crush and run down. Nothing. And that's unfair to us. We have to pay for the trucks to come down there to pick up the trash and stuff. Those heavy trucks are tearing up the road just as well. And to me, I don't feel that it's right that they can't drag the highway, that little section. I feel like they had the money. Princeville, with all these changes in hand, the money got spent. Everything in Princeville is paid except for that one little section. If they don't want to pay it, then at least they can do is keep it drugged.
Thank you for your comment. Next person up for public comment is Mr. Reverend Roosevelt Higgs. Reverend Roosevelt, next up for public comment.
Thank y'all for coming down and giving the Secretary of Education an opportunity to be heard. And I heard y'all say earlier that this is somewhat of a new plan. I don't have a problem with new plans. What I have a problem with, for 3 years, what have y'all been using as a guide to address Matthews? For 3 years now. And I feel like it's just time for somebody to stop bewitching people and put yourself in these people's positions. The majority of the people in Ashcombe County are the have-nots. And when you are a have-not and you get hit with a disaster, you don't have the luxury of moving on. You are paralyzed right there where you are until you get help. These people need help. They needed help 3 years ago. And to come pussyfooting 3 years later with another plan, Y'all go back and tell the governor he ought to be ashamed of himself to send y'all down here with some shit like this.
Next person up for public comment is Ms. Linda Knight. Ms. Linda Knight, you're next up for public comment. Making a call for public comment from Ms. Linda Knight. Seeing no one come forward, we will go on to Ms. Mary Warren. Ms. Mary Warren, you're next up for public comment.
Yes.
Making a public comment call from Ms. Mary Warren. Seeing no one come forward, we will go on to Ms. Daisy Stack.
Lord Jesus. All right, balance us out, balance us out.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daisy Staten. I'm the chairperson of Princeville Housing Authority Board. And I'm here advocating for public housing. We had 50 units public and 4 marketing. And I'm asking that some of that $168 million be given to Princeville Housing Authority so we can relocate on the new 52 acres high ground and we won't get flooded again. And in this area, we do need affordable housing because of the demographics, because of the economics. And I'm advocating, please rebuild Princeville Housing Authority with some of that money. And we have a very good managing agent, Mr. Larry Wood, Winston-Salem Housing Authority, and they're very experienced in building and doing the infrastructure. So as soon as we get some money, we can rebuild and bring some of our citizens back. And also this rebuild is on higher ground. We're farther from the river. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next person up for public comment, Ms. Darlene Spencer Harris. Ms. Harris, you're next up for public comment.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I reside in southeast Rocky Mountain, where we received a lot of damage from the storms that have been mentioned. There's a lot of properties that have not been rebuilt because the people are unable to afford the repairs. The streets were flooded, the storms were filled, houses were ruined, people were displaced. It may not have been as bad as Princeville, but we were still affected in the same manner. We ask you that you consider giving Southeast Rocky Mountain some of the monies that's being allocated to help rebuild the community and the people's lives and restore some dignity to that area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next person up for public comment is Ms. Roberta Foreman. Ms. Foreman, you're next up for public comment.
Good evening. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. I have a lot to say. 3 minutes won't allow me. I want to piggyback off the two gentlemen. I'm very dissatisfied. It's been 3 years. I still have not got any money. I think all the monies must be going towards salaries to people that don't know half as much as I know. And I have a big problem with that. It's great to get this money, but we need a better system on how to allot it, because the people that are affected are not the ones that are receiving the money. I'm waiting now to going back, and hopefully I will get some answers. I just found out that there's a new handbook with rules. I don't understand how we can change after 3 years, and now they're saying, you know, there's things that are different than what we were told in the beginning. But I do want to say, the local Edgecombe County girls, y'all know who y'all are. If it was not for you all, I don't know where I would be right now, because I call them many days and they always respond, because they're really the only ones I can count on right now. I'm very dissatisfied. It's great to have a plan, pray we never have future storms, but if it's gonna take 3 years, a lot of people can't wait that long. I still don't have any answers. I have an award letter over there that means nothing to me if I can't get anybody to get it going. I just don't know, I'm kind of getting hopeless, but I hope after tonight I'm going to get some answers, and in the future, just like tonight, the local girls told me about this meeting. I did not receive a phone call, email, text, or letter. It was that I stopped in there and they were the ones that told me about being here tonight. So this cannot go on. We have to stand unified, come together, and fight for what is right. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for the local Edgecombe County office. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. That is all we have signed up for public comment. I'll make a call to the audience. Anyone that did not sign up for public comment that would like to come forward to give a comment, please do so at this time. Making a call for anyone for public comment. Please state your name for the record.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Isabel Andrews. I was a former commissioner here in Princeville, North Carolina. My damaged address is 725 Greenwood Boulevard, Princeville, North Carolina. As others have stated, we have been waiting, which we thought once they started checking everybody's name, whoever they have the dial, everything will be in order and on time. But it have not been. It don't seem like nobody cares anymore, or if the money have been going to other floods that been happening, or it's gonna continue on when other floods happen, is the money going somewhere? We need help. I have never seen nothing like this. I done been in 2 floods. Almost got drowned in the 1999. And now in 17 years, we had another one, Matthews. And as FEMA booklet stated that I had read in Matthew, saying that after our town been flooded twice, they wasn't gonna help that town anymore. So we wonder, what we gonna do next? Another flood got to happen before we even get anything? Which I did move, because in 99 flood, I had to jump up and down. After 99 flood, jumping up and down, wondering when it's gonna flood again. That is nerve-wracking. Cause a lot of us to be stressed out, anxiety, on medication, mentally. And then when we try to get answers now, talking about new plan, how can you continue on changing something when we have hope? First we have hope, then you take it away from us. Make us still feel stressed out with anxiety, and then we don't even know how long we're gonna be here. People are dying left and right. We do want to have some enjoyment out of this. I understand what you're talking about, but time shouldn't even matter what we done been through. That's right. Time shouldn't even matter. We done been through a lot, and it's still, I came out here today, thought I was gonna get some answer, and still not getting any answer. Now, they had told me, I had done went through the process. When I first went through the process, they sent me a award letter. I said, this is not even pertaining to me. I put in for the buyout. I had to call all around trying to find out where I need to go next. I mean, all this searching, we shouldn't even have to go through all of this. It's just too much, and it's about time for somebody to wake up.
Thank you. Thank you for your public comment. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward for public comment? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Maria Gomez. And I would like to say that if you could save some fund for people that in the future will come in a hurricane and save like a little bit of money and save some gas and water thing, because a lot of people have low budget and
that I prepare myself, buying food, buying things. The gas go high. There's no gas in the gas station. So if it that is, the hurricane come and it will get bigger. I mean, you could have some fun to become one of those people that have no income and to come and help them and move forward and move out. Because I know there's a lot of people stay home because they cannot afford buy gas and stuff. Then I better do that.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else come forward for a comment? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Vaughn Person. I'm a lifetime resident of Edgecombe County. My husband and I are landlords with several pieces of property in Tarboro and Princeville. I have attended over a dozen meeting presentations since October 2016 because of Hurricane Matthew. And we was told throughout the meetings that there would be funds available to landlords, because I personally asked the question myself. None of the properties was considered in the buyout, even though before flood, one was valued at nearly $90,000, now the value of it is $16,000. Another value at $75,000, now the value is $12,500. Several more with the same appraisal. We were told to submit an application to the county. We submitted our applications, our information, and some of it more than twice. All of our property was inspected, measured, lead sample, taken according to those 8 steps planned to rebuild North Carolina, the homeowner recovery program. We were told we was on step 5. After 3 years, we received information stating that we are not eligible because we did not live in the house at the time of the flood. That it was not our primary resident. The application was given to us and the question was asked referring to the application. My question is, why were we given that application and now they tell us the landlord applications has not been formatted? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward for public comment? Please come forward.
Get a microphone over here, please, for handicap accessible. Thank you.
One moment, please.
My name is Vaughn Person, 302 2nd Street, Princeville. I've been in Princeville since I was 18 years old. I'm now 75 years old. I have not seen anything happening in Princeville like it is today. I love Princeville. I had many chances to leave Princeville, but after I became to love it, I decided not to, and I wanted to fight for it. My home flooded in Hurricane Floyd completely. They had to rebuild our home, and they moved the house back further across the land, and now the land has shifted. I never had flooding before, but when Matthew came along, my house flooded over half, about 3/3 of my house flooded. Now, I have read, I was one of 3 houses on 2nd Street that had a red on the house. I didn't get back into my house until February, and it's still not completed up to today. They're still coming just today and still working on my house. I'm very disgusted with the way things have gone about. I've had letters that said I would receive money and different other things, but yet when I go to the meetings and different other things, I have been denied and said, well, you don't qualify. But yet my age, and I'm a double amputee, and I qualify according to their guidelines, but then they tell me that there are other people that come before me. I need help from Princeville. The water flows out of my neighbor's backyard from over by Money Street on back down across until my land. Now that the land has shifted, never before has that land been like that. But since that flood, they came and they dug a little trench. But when Matthew came, the water still didn't go in the trench. It came up in my yard and flooded my house and my car, which I didn't get paid for. So, I'm one of the ones that have to pay the $400 for the flood insurance. I ought to get Social Security, and I don't have any help. My husband is deceased. And I want to know, when will Princeville begin to help the citizens of Princeville? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Anyone else available that would like to come forward for public comment? Having no one else sign up for public comment, I make a call to the audience. Is there anyone that would like to come forward for public comment? Seeing there's no one stepping forward, I'll make one last call. Is there anyone that would like to come forward for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, public comment is now closed. I will turn it over to Ms. Laura Halsey.
So I want to say thank you for coming and for sharing. And I want to say that as much as I can, I do understand, and we want to be the entity that brings the answers to you. And so I want to encourage you to continue to visit the case management table, continue to ask us questions. As you know, it's not appropriate for us to answer questions during a public comment period, but we can. There are a lot of INCOR staff members here. Please grab us and talk to us, because we do want to hear more about what you're facing and how we can be of assistance. But thank you very much for coming out tonight. Please be safe driving home, and please continue to ask us questions. Thank you.